Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Meglos, the second story from Doctor Who Season 18. Before we start, funny thing I only noticed this afternoon is that the DVD video logo is on the coloured strip instead of around here, and the U logo is very close to the bottom. U logo, used to occasion. So yeah, whoever was doing that, you just need to move them up a little bit. It's done fine on the other side, by the way. So this is basically the complete opposites to Terror of the Autumns, where they made the mistake on that side, with the TBC going through the middle of the certification, whilst the main side was fine. So yeah, I don't know what happened here. I don't know if anybody else has got that, that problem with either Terror of the Autumns or for this release. But, okay, so Meglos, what do I think? Another mediocre story. This is if we take out Sharda, this is the 5th mediocre story in a row, or mediocre or worse. Oh, I needed that. Okay, well, to be fair on this story, I hate the first half of this story. Well, I don't hate it, but I find it extremely boring. But I actually like the second half pretty much. It's a very 50-50 story. Okay, so what's wrong with the first half? Well, it's boring, uninteresting. We've got some sort of quite interesting, graspy idea with this dodecahedron thing. And there's two groups of people on this planet with one leader who kind of sees both points of view really well. He's actually a pretty good character, by the way. Thing is, these two characters often squabble between each other because one's very science-based and one's very religion-based. And if we know our human history, we know that science and religion don't get on until the 20th century at some point, and then they kind of got along a bit better then. But even in other parts of the world, they still don't work together so very well. I wonder if this is a satire. I'm sure we've seen it done before, though, in other stories. I might be wrong. Maybe it's done in later stories. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, but that's basically the first half of the story. The Doctor, Romana, and K9 are in the TARDIS, basically, well, besides repairing K9, pretty much doing nothing. Then we got these two people, groups of queer people, squabbling over the dodecahedron. So their leader guy decides to call in the Doctor, and I guess neither of them doesn't really sound like the sound of an alien coming to their planet. Well, if you're going to squabble between each other, then getting someone from another planet to help your situation, especially one with the know-how and respect for both sides, yeah, no wonder. And then about 11 or so minutes in, we get these ragtag buffoon space pirate people, led by this bearded chap here, wearing warm clothing. It looks like he's wearing holdover costumes from the Rivals operation, merged with a bit of space tech. If this is another space pirate, I'm getting out of here. But he and his ragtag gang bring this regular human guy. We don't actually know who it is. It's just a regular human guy. Could have just been any office worker or something. Maybe he's one of those taxpayer people from that tax company from the Sunmakers. Well, it's something to think about. Yeah, I'm probably clutching at straws on that theory, but why not? Or maybe he's a representative of another big corporation like Ood Operations or Kabam or something. I'm just trying to make something a bit more interesting. Also, this is another story like Face of Evil, where they talk about the Doctor visiting before, but we haven't seen that adventure. So, expanded media, if that adventure hasn't been made yet, go. You've got the material. Go make it. Doesn't matter which format, just make it. Same for Face of Evil. If that one doesn't have a prequel story yet, yeah, just basically a prequel story, even if it's set earlier in that Doctor's timeline. But basically, the Ragtag Gang bring the human to Meglos, pretty much a cactus. He is the last of something. Does it mention? Last of the Zolphaphurus. And he wants the dodecahedron, and so he takes the form of this human. He takes the human and merges with him and pretty much takes over his body. And he can also shapeshift into other bodies, so he's able to shapeshift into the Doctor to try and steal the dodecahedron, whilst also trapping him, Romano, and K9 in a time loop, which does get a bit grating after a bit of a while, just like an Armageddon Factor. The Doctor, Romano, and K9 are able to break out of it by recreating the things that they said and did when the time loop started. So when they try to recreate it, then they break the time loop, because it was during a part after they had said it, before it went back round again. And they were able to escape and arrive on Tygella. However, by this time, Meglos Doctor has stolen the dodecahedron and is noticed by Karis, this girl scientist group. What were the group's names? Savants and the Daons. The Daons are the religious people, and they're super religious, and they even try to sacrifice the Doctor as a way to bring it back, the dodecahedron back, after, when they think it's him who stole it, it's actually Meglos. When they think the Doctor has stolen it, and then when they seem to decide to sacrifice him to get it back, when he's unable to bring it back, and maybe they're now thinking, oh, the gods may have taken it. Finally, I think that's the part 3 cliffhanger, but by that point, things are getting more interesting again. With the human trying to resist Meglos' control, and Romana leading the beardy space pirates on basically in circles after getting kidnapped by them at the end of part 2. Is it me, or is Nightmare of Eden and Leisure Hive the only story Romana doesn't get kidnapped or put in mortal danger more than usual, or needs rescuing from the Doctor or something? I swear Nightmare of Eden and Leisure Hive are the only two so far. I mean, maybe one of the last 3 might be a bit different, but yeah. And 5 Doctors, technically, she needs to be rescued by the Doctor as well. Well, Rassilon, technically, but still. So, yeah. The reason I'm getting so annoyed about it with Romana is because Romana is a great character, but she's also supposed to be a smart, intelligent character, and the fact that she's being treated like a typical companion is a bit annoying in a way. She's not Sarah Jane, and I was okay with it with Sarah Jane, because even though she was a typical companion, she was still fun and engaging with it. But Romana is supposed to be as smart as the Doctor, so that she shouldn't be in these situations as much as Sarah Jane or Jo or Victoria or whoever or anybody else. Maybe as much as Leela, but that's as far as it should go. But nope, pretty much every other story. Pretty much every story apart from Leisure Hive and Nightmare of Eden, which is one positive from both of those stories, and one negative for every other story. So, yeah, but part 3 gets a bit more interesting, and then part 4 is when they go after Meglos and try to swap it around, and that's where we get some of the great doppelganger moments of the story. I do have to say the Daon leader, who's brilliantly played by a returning Jacqueline Hill. She's great in parts 1, 2, and 3, and she has a few great moments in part 4. One of these space pirate dudes who had chased down Romana and attacked the city is still alive and shoots her. Trying to get to Romana, and Jacqueline Hill's character gets an L, pushes out the way and gets shot instead and dies. What a rubbish death, and what What an awful way to get rid of the character. She was starting to get good as well. Jacqueline Hill had a great performance. It's just, I think it would have been better if she had gone to the planet with the Doctor, Romana, K9, and two of the scientist characters, the leader of them and Karis. I think she should have gone with them. Maybe she would have died there. But on the other hand, maybe she should have just pushed Romana out of the way and minded out of the way. It's the same thing with Rory in Cold Blood. It's something similar to that. They push someone out the way and they in the direct line of fire. What's wrong with a good shove and move back, or run them out of the way? Oh well, but the final episode on Meglos' planet is actually really good, and the space pirate guys are quite fun in that bit, especially the second in command, who really likes the Doctor's coat. And also they then try to overthrow Meglos, and eventually that leads to both the Doctor and Meglos looking like the Doctor, having a nice conversation in the ship. And some great scenes. And I do have to say, Tom Baker does a marvellous performance as Meglos. And he also does a great job as the Doctor as well. I think it's because this story is a bit more reflective of Graham Williams' stories. It's a bit more comedic. It's a bit more light. And also after the other story where they changed a lot of stuff. I think once they got that out of the way, they were able to just carry on as much as they could. Although Tom Baker was at this point, Tom Baker hadn't decided. It hadn't been announced he was leaving yet. Although he might have decided by this point. But I do think he does put on the best performance he can in this serial for both characters, especially for Meglos. He is amazing as Meglos. He's so great. And he does a great job as the Doctor as well. I also like Lana Ward's Romana, and John Leeson's K9 gets a bit more to do, although not much. But more than the last story. Oh, God damn it. Just give him some more stuff to do. I know you don't like him, John Nathan Turner, but God damn it, if you're going to have him, use him. You can see why he gets rid of him in Warrior's Gate, but if you're going to have him, use him. He only has a little use to do, and it just wears his battery down in the other scenes. So much so that Romana almost risks being shot at or trapped outside the city just so that she could bring him inside. God damn it. So on the whole, Meglos, it's mixed. It's a mixed opinion story. I like the second half. I'm not a fan of the first half. That would mean I would give it a 5 out of 10 because it's very much 50-50. But I also really like the performances in the story. So I'm now leaning towards a 6. The first half was very boring, though. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to give Meglos a 5 out of 10. The first half is boring, dull, uninteresting. Apart from the dodecahedron being pretty interesting and Meglos being pretty interesting, but the squabble isn't interesting. The Doctor and Romana being in a time loop isn't that great. But I do think the story improves in the third episode. There are some good stuff in the second though, but I do think it improves much better in the third, and the fourth episode is a lot of fun and enjoyable. I just don't like how Jacqueline Hill's character is killed off in that story. Maybe if it was later on, it might have worked, but but it would have been better than what we had. So on the whole, Meglos is better than the previous story, and it's better than Haunted Nightmare. It's better than Nightmare of Eden. It's the best one since Screech from the Pit. I did almost give it a 6, but still. But Meglos doesn't 100% work. I thought this story had a reputation for being bad, but actually I don't think that reputation actually exists, or at least isn't that noticeable. To be honest, season 18 doesn't have as much of a reputation unless it's Logopolis. So yeah, Meglos, it's you might get something out of it. I am glad that human guy got to survive at the end, and the Doctor and Romana are taking him back home, and there's a nice tie-in with the next story with the Gallifrey calling, and they have to go back there, which is probably going to be something part of some sort of something going forward with the E-Space trilogy, most likely. Speaking of which, next time we'll be starting the E-Space trilogy with Full Circle, which is written by a fan, Andrew Smith. So let's see how that handles. Of course, nowadays the new series is pretty much mostly written by fans of the show. So yeah, and worked on by other fans. So it's nice seeing that by come 1980s, you've got fans working on the show as well as just staff and writers. You actually have fans like Andrew Smith and Eric Sayward and Peter Davison contributing to the series and making it as well, trying to make it as successful as they could. And the same can be said for anything after 2005 and also for the TV movie. So yeah. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching my review of Meglos. Next time, Full Circle. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. We know what happened to the ones from Space Pirates and Pirate Planet I did like, but that was a less interesting angle despite some. And whilst I did like the Pirate Planet, I'm not as overly keen on that one as ever. Nah, fuck Space Pirate. Pirate Planet. Okay. Also, this is another story like Planet of Evil where they have a story and Face of Evil, not Planet of Evil, Face of Evil, where they have. I'll start here then. So when it goes back to that specific point in time. So when they redo that bit, not having gone back to that. So when they recreate that bit before the time loop goes back, comes back round again, or just doesn't need rescuing from the dock, doesn't need the space pirate guys who die. So I think after settling into this, so after the more